Have you ever wondered why some people are able to reverse or dramatically improve their autoimmune conditions like MS, even after years of struggle? Are you tired of trying every diet, supplement, and protocol only to end up right back in the cycle of fatigue and inflammation? What if I told you that the missing piece might not be another pill or a plan, but learning how to make your body truly feel safe again? If that sounds like you are not alone. So many women with autoimmune conditions feel like their bodies are fighting against them, when in reality, the body is just trying to protect them the best way that it knows how. Welcome back to the Health Bridge podcast. I'm Holly B. I am a lupus and energy restoration specialist, helping women with lupus and autoimmune diseases reduce flares, regain energy, and reconnect to their purpose using mind, body, spirit healing. Today, I am joined by Christine Ruch, a holistic transformation guide who healed herself from multiple sclerosis and now helps others do the same through deep nervous system work, trauma healing, and holistic nutrition. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why true healing goes far beyond food and supplements, and how you can start creating the inner environment where your body finally feels safe enough to heal. Stick around because we're answering the question, what does it really take to heal an autoimmune condition from the inside out? Before we dive in, please take just a moment to like and subscribe to this podcast on whichever platform you're listening in on. It helps so much in getting this podcast out further to women who really need to hear the holistic options that are out there for them on their autoimmune journey. Thank you so much. And now let's dive into the episode. Christine, welcome to the program. I am excited to have a conversation with you today. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
So your journey began, I think, about 20 years ago or so, as did mine. And one thing I've definitely found throughout my journey is that healing is definitely not a straightforward path. And I'm sure we'll dive into this. It's more like a labyrinth with all these twists and turns and winding roads, and some are dead ends, and you have to backtrack. And it takes a long time to sort of piece together which paths are more helpful than others, and which combination of paths will actually lead you towards your healing and hopefully towards remission. And what I like about your story is that you draw on many different modalities in your healing process and when you're working with your clients. And I'm curious, with your story, did you try a Western approach first, or did you jump straight into holistic practices, or was it like a combination of both?
Yeah, thanks for asking. That's a great first question. I haven't actually ever pursued conventional pharmaceutical intervention, but that wasn't necessarily like intentional at the beginning. At the beginning, I started with like an elimination diet. I was so sick, and I have a long past of being very sensitive to pharmaceuticals. And so I was really nervous about like the harshness of the drugs. And at that time, the treatment for MS was like an injection. And I don't know, I had really young kids, and it just kind of scared me to have them see me like injecting myself with a medicine. And so thankfully I had a really good naturopath, and she is the one who tested me for food sensitivities. And then I also found out by way of that I had celiac disease. And so at her urging, I did a food elimination diet, thinking I just needed to get healthy enough to withstand the rigor of the pharmaceutical drugs. And so I did an elimination diet, and then that actually ended up just opening a new door and changing the trajectory of my disease and my treatment process. And it was so powerful that then I never felt like I needed to use pharmaceuticals. And then and as a final note, I think one of the other things that I promised myself was that my baseline, like treatment or my baseline, the trigger that caused or the exacerbation or whatever MS flare that instigated my diagnosis, I always felt like if I was going to have another flare that was as bad as that first one or worse than, then I would be like, okay, this isn't, all these other things aren't working. And so I need to pay attention to choose the pharmaceutical route. But thankfully, I'm so blessed that that actually didn't end up coming to pass. There was still like you said, the labyrinth and lots of twists and turns and ups and downs. I've definitely had plenty of setbacks and plenty of, um, flares, but nothing as bad as the first one. So I always felt like it was, I was on the right path to keep going and pursuing any number of different alternative um, modalities.
I find it interesting that your initial approach was you needed to use holistic methods to get strong enough in helping fuse the Western meds. That's
Yeah,
mostly the
right.
opposite of what we hear.
I know, but I just like, thank you. Yeah, I just wasn't healthy. And I thought like if I did the diet, then I'd be healthier. And then that, ended up turning everything around in a totally different way than I had anticipated 20 years ago.
I definitely do want to dive into nutrition. But first, I'd like to know when you say you healed your MS naturally, so many people that hear you say that are going to say, okay, well, that's great for you, but how does that apply to me? And also, I'm curious what you think healing or how you feel. What do you think that healing means? Like, what does healing mean to you from MS? Is it just symptom reversal? Is it just well maintained symptom management? Is it blood work changes? Like, what does that look like to you? Because I feel like there are lots of different definitions of what healing could be.
Yeah, and I think that you're right. There definitely is. And to your point, I think that my answer to that question has evolved over 20 years. I mean, when I first did the elimination diet and I could suddenly run and everything like that, and I didn't have, I had all of the sensation back in my legs because that was my primary symptom was a lot of leg pain and numbness and tingling and things like that. And so I felt like, wow, I hit the jackpot. And then you kind of take a step back or like you plateau a little bit and then you try to find something else. And then that builds on the diet and so it keeps on shifting and changing. But I will say that I had always felt like any sort of absence of exacerbation would be an indication to me of like the longer I could go without having an MS flare, then that to me was making progress. And but at the end now, I think that it's really about it's all of these different layers of your nervous system and calming your nervous system and creating new relationship in your nervous system. And now I look back and that's what diet was doing and that's what lifestyle modalities were doing and all of those type of things were all means to the end insofar as like really unwinding the nervous system. Um, so I think though today, 20 years later, I have that I absolutely feel like I'm in remission. Now I'm sure if I were to eat, like I still have celiac. And so if I were to go and eat a pizza, and my primary symptoms, anytime I would like step out of line with my diet or something like that, would be like it would be an immediate symptom of like my legs tingling or any number of MS symptoms. So it'd be a real immediate, like within 24 hours would be really clear like, no, you can't eat that. Um, but now today, I don't even know if I really have celiac. I mean, I can't go and eat a whole pizza. I think I more have a wheat allergy than anything else. And so I have the most freedom in my diet that I've had in 20 years. I can eat everything except for wheat. So I feel like it's a huge blessing. But back to that labyrinth and that spiral of healing, my diet ranged all over the place in 20 years. So, um, and I think that now that I'm in a healthier place in my life, then my body is more open and receptive to receiving nutrition and nourishment. So I have a broader diet.
It's kind of a chicken or the egg scenario of, is it the nervous system healing that is allowing my body to receive nutrition in a different manner? Or is it that I've shifted my nutrition enough and healed my gut to calm down that reaction, that inflammation that would happen? And that in turn is helping to heal my nervous system because it's allowing my body to be in less fight or flight, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But that's kind of like psychoneuroimmunology, where in it is all everything all at once. It is all that and so it is all happening all at once. So and you are creating this positive feedback loop, and so yeah, you could go into it like fixing your nervous system first. And then if you did that first, would you have to have such a rigid diet? Or you can have such a rigid diet and not pay any attention at all to your nervous system. And that'll work for a little while, you know.
Right.
But I don't know that you're gonna get like the same results if you only did a diet only. I mean, I think that that will only have legs for so long.
I do agree with that. And nutrition is definitely something that has been very important in my healing, as well as something that I coach on with my clients. And let's dive into nutrition and then we'll get into nervous system because those
Yeah.
are two very key elements, of course. But I agree that the nutrition can only do all of these different elements. They can only do so much individually. It's
Yeah.
tying them in with all the other things where the magic is.
Yeah.
So, when you started with nutrition, specifically for your health condition, um, I guess, where did you start? Because I feel like there is so much societal pressure of what you should or shouldn't eat based on moral standpoints or belief standpoints, um, rather than learning to tap into what does my body actually need or not need right now. And it's
Little.
hard to it's hard to start, I think, from that standpoint, that intuitive standpoint of like what is going to work well for my body and how can I input certain things or take out certain things that will help or exacerbate rather than looking at it from that bigger societal viewpoint. And there's so many different diets to choose from. We're told this one will help you, this one will hurt you. How do you start to filter through all that? And where did you start?
Yeah, that's such a valuable insight because I think, 20 years ago, we didn't have nearly the same dietary dogma that we do today. I mean, it was like heart healthy, low sodium. I mean, maybe there was Atkins diet, so there wasn't a lot of, it wasn't nearly as fueled as it is today, where people are taking on all of these different diets as a form of identity almost. And I think, and that's very mental, and it removes this whole idea of exactly what you said, which is exactly how we're born and built, is to really listen to our intuition. And our intuition and our body tells us what it needs. And it's like not this mental construct, like I want to save the planet, so I'm gonna not eat animals. The body doesn't really care about that. The body needs what the body needs. So having said that, I did a food elimination, a food sensitivity panel, and now thankfully I had a really talented naturopath, and I had a lot of other like symptoms of food sensitivity, even though none of them were digested strangely. And so, but I had a lot of asthma and allergies and eczema and other things like that, and I truly 20 years ago, even though I ate organic, had natural childbirth, I did all of the things. I also, though, was really at the very beginning of really this deeper understanding of how powerful food is in like all of your body systems, you know? So thankfully, she was the one who suggested this food panel, food sensitivity panel, and then I did an elimination diet. It was like a 6 week long elimination diet. And through that process, then I had, you know, such healing crisis and all of these other things that happened as you cleanse yourself from all the toxins and all of that type of stuff. Um, and I was eating healthy, but I just wasn't eating healthy for me, you know? I would like ferment my own sourdough and, you know, eat a lot of dairy. And I thought that I was eating really healthy, but I just wasn't eating healthy for me. And so, but I do think today it's definitely a thing. And I'm interested to know how you feel about this with your clients as well, is to get them to a point where they can truly put aside all of their opinions around like food labels and all the things exactly like what different influencers and diet fads and identity driven food choices and all of that kind of stuff. And if they can actually get to a place where they put all of that down and really teach them how to sink into what their body really needs. And but I still do really think like data markers are really important because there's really good tests out there that can absolutely show you, you know, where to begin.
Hey, I just wanted to jump in here and interrupt the program for just a hot minute. You know that I'm so passionate about this podcast, but what I'm also really passionate about is helping women with lupus minimize their symptoms, boost their energy so that they can indulge in life again. So if you are a woman who is struggling with lupus, who is sick and tired of being sick and tired, who's struggling to manage your flares, if you're finding that your lupus symptoms are just really getting in the way of you being able to live your life the way you want to, I feel you. I've been there myself and I felt the same way. And what I've found is that there are a certain set of health fundamentals that once applied, will support you in your foundational health. They will support you in building and maintaining that energy, minimizing flares, and allowing you to, again, indulge in life and follow your passions. So, if that is something that you are interested in creating for yourself, let's jump on a call together. I will walk you through the process that I use with my clients to get them from sick and tired to strong foundation of health by implementing my Health Bridge protocol. If this is something you're interested in chatting more about, I would love to talk to you. Apply for a free clarity call with me, and I look forward to getting to know you soon. And now back to the episode.
And then if you do take a really strong opinion, a stance on having a food elimination diet, you're not just, you are just removing these foods that are exacerbating your inflammation, but you're also sending like safety signals to your nervous system because your body is like responding in anger and frustration and inflammation at what you're feeding it. And so it will actually thank you and be so receptive when you actually start to pay attention to your body that way and respect that your body's trying to tell you something. And so by changing your diet, it's a great way to start learning how to have a relationship with your body and listen to, you know, like symptoms and everything like that.
Yeah, you said several things that I want to highlight. What you just said was that you are eliminating things so that your body doesn't basically have to yell at you to get your attention, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's such a perspective shift that people aren't understanding. They're seeing as symptoms as what's wrong with my body. Why is my body doing this to me? As if it's like this, its own entity, but you're all
Yes.
we working together here, right?
You're working together here. Yeah, because we're not separate from our body, right? And our
Exactly.
head isn't separate from our body. And our body is always talking to us. It is always telling us something's wrong. And it's like, I think in a lot of our society, we don't, probably due to Western medicine in general, we actually don't teach people or children, or it's not culturally um, talked about that this is a real biofeedback loop, and it's a real information superhighway, and learning how to really listen to what your body is telling you and then take aligned action. And when you take aligned action, your body will receive that immediately, and the results are just like instant. It's like so powerful.
Exactly. Yeah. So your body has its own voice. That voice is the symptoms or the signs of misalignment, and they will usually start subtly. But if we just don't tune into them or we brush them off, eventually they're going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. That's
Yes.
where we're ending up with autoimmune conditions and things that are more
Yes.
chronic. We haven't
Yeah.
listened to those little signals, and I'm certainly guilty of that myself. That's how I've ended up on this healing journey.
Yeah.
And there was a couple other things you said. You were stating that you ate organic already. You had a home birth. You were
Yeah.
very crunchy granola, shall we say.
Completely.
Yeah. And so you believed you were doing all the right things because that's what
Yeah.
society basically told you you were doing. And
Exactly.
yet you still ended up with an MS diagnosis.
Mhm.
That's hard to wrap your head around, right? When we think we are so healthy and then we're smacked with this diagnosis. But you then said you were eating healthy, you just weren't eating healthy for you. And that's such an important point because we get so stuck up in that dogma of I should be eating this way or that way, or this specific thing is super healthy. Everybody knows it's healthy. I gotta keep loading spinach into my smoothie. It's so healthy for you, but your body might not agree with you. And we have to be able to remove ourselves from that identity, like you said, of I am this person and I ate this way, and this is part of my identity. If we can remove the layers of that identity and just say, okay, I'm open to other possibilities that maybe I need to shift some things. And maybe what I thought was true isn't actually true for me specifically. And that's where, like you said, we can start feeding the nervous system and showing that we're listening to it, showing that we are trying to learn what will help it feel more safe and cared for, right?
Yeah, and you actually said some really important things too, just in like mirroring back to me what I'd shared, because it's like, yeah, I was doing all of these right things and had this healthy lifestyle, but I wasn't eating right for me. But at the same time, I had a seriously imbalanced nervous system. And so no amount, like, yes, of course, the diet important aspect of calming my nervous system, and calming inflammation in general. Um, but at the same time, it only would go so far until I started to really look at my nervous system specifically. And then suddenly a whole bunch of other things started to shift all on its own. But I think starting at the beginning and having this greater, deeper awareness that your body is always talking to you, it is your body, and learning to listen to what it's trying to tell you, um, and removing all sorts of anything that is an input, whether it's television shows or diet books or belief structures that are all mental driven, right? That's different than something that's truly felt in your body and in your heart, and in your intuition. And so I think like that's part of this process of working with people is these rewiring these belief structures to really allow yourself to be in a place to receive the messages from your body and then start to take, like I always say, take aligned action. And then when you start to do that, then it is like I keep saying, it's just a miracle, and you probably know this for yourself as well. It's just truly powerful how your body is so grateful for you to listen. And it's so grateful. So, but it does take removing all of these other inputs and getting you in a state of mind to be in service of your body and not in service of your mind.
Yes. And what I was just kind of coming up with as you were speaking is that you yourself are the only true expert in your body, on your body, on your mental health, on your spiritual health. We can find lots of other very smart guides that can help us along the way and teach us
Mhm.
and help us learn how to listen better. But never forget in your healing process that you are not the ultimate go-to expert, not your doctor, not your guru, not your health coach. You have to learn to start tuning in. And that's not, I'm not saying that's an easy process. This is like you've been on a 20-year journey. I've been on a 20-year journey. It's a process that builds over time and we get better and better and better at it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of deconditioning that has to happen. I think that we don't actually realize how much we've been conditioned to believe certain things. And I think that you made a really good point because all healing is self healing. And it might look like it's coming from outside by a doctor or modality or pharmaceutical drug intervention or whatever, but really all healing is self healing. And so, really connecting with the fact that we were given these, it's our birthright to heal. We heal from all kinds of things all the time. And the body doesn't just differentiate. We're like, I'll heal that broken bone, but I won't heal this. And I think that if we can actually really truly appreciate that it is all within us and we all have the capacity to do that. But I do think it does take a lot of deconditioning. There's a lot of ways in which like modern pharmaceutical medicine doesn't want you to believe that. And a lot of doctors actually disempower you. And sometimes you have questions and you want to dig deeper. And your intuition might tell you might have questions about whatever. And when you're not validated and you're not seen, or you have to like wear masks around what, like, I don't want this person to know I don't feel like this, or I don't want to share this with this person, or I don't want to be totally honest with this person. Then it's just like this place you box yourself into. And I don't think it serves the healing path at all. So you have to be open to the deconditioning more so, and the healing will happen on its own because your body wants to heal. We're healing beings, but we just have to get out of our own way and trust the process. And so yeah, be ready to be deconditioning more than like doing particular things that you feel like, well, is this going to really heal me, when all we're doing is really talking about your mindset. And it feels like, is that really, going to move the needle? And so it might seem like it's slower at the beginning because there's a lot of deconditioning, but then it just builds on itself and gets really, really fast once it clicks, and you're just like, oh, okay, I get it. Do you find
Yes.
that with your clients as
Oh
well?
yeah, definitely. And that was my journey is in I was doing lots of things, but it wasn't until I started recognizing that had a very limited mindset and a very just a mindset that was stuck in my stories and what
Yeah.
I believed was true for myself or wasn't true, or what reality was or what reality wasn't. Until I started listening to the words that I was using to narrate everything with and started shifting those to open the doors to different possible outcomes. That was when the trajectory really started. That's when I actually started feeling better in my physical health, but also in my life overall. And so that's always where I start with my clients is we always start with the mindset work and creating that healing mindset and that growth mindset, because if you're stuck and you're keeping those doors closed to any sort of growth or any sort of movement, um, due to fear or whatever it is, you're only going to be able to move the dial so much with the supplements, with the nutrition, with the
Yeah.
medicine.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then the healing process takes so much longer than it should, you know? and or that it can. And but until you are ready for that deeper work, and that deeper work is real mental work. And I love what you said about the stories, though, too, because this kind of goes into a little bit of, let's say, nervous system restoration or regulation. Because a lot of times, we create these stories based on false information. They're not true. And then we create an identity around the stories that we tell ourselves. And we create the stories based on all sorts of different things that they're just completely false. And so I think it's really interesting because a lot of that comes back to the nervous system, because we don't have a way to we don't have the capacity to hold emotions. We don't know how to have a range of emotions without attaching a story to it. And then from that story, then we create decisions and belief structures. And then that crafts our trajectory in life and the path that we're going to choose, instead of actually learning how to be in full allowance with everything that is, and without attaching stories to your emotion, your range of emotions that we have as humans. Like, you can have a range of emotions without attaching a story to it, or a belief structure, or decisions, or all of that stuff to it. So I think disengaging yourself from that is a really important part, at least of the process for me in working with people with MS, because um, it really is a nervous system dysregulation. And so when you get into, like, how exactly is your nervous system? Like, a lot of times we create a life in service of keeping ourselves dysregulated, because that's what's normal to us. That's what feels normal. And so we don't even realize it, like fish swimming in the sea. Like, you don't even realize that's the water you're swimming in, and because it feels so normal to you. And so I think it's a very nuanced process, but it's really, really powerful once you actually start to unwind the backstory and the mechanisms behind your belief structures and all of that kind of stuff.
Can you get into a little more specifics around what nervous system dysregulation means? Because it's something that's talked about a lot, but I don't know that that means that our listeners necessarily know specifically what you mean by that.
Yeah. Well, I think right now, probably because of, well, I'm just going to say, I mean, I think like Gabor Mate is a great, he's an incredible man and a psychiatrist physician. And then Vanderkolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score. And I think that's when we started to really recognize that our body holds all of the range of everything that has ever happened to us in our entire life. All of that is housed in our body, not in our mind. And a lot of that is suppressed because we didn't have a way of dealing with those emotions when they arose. Whether that's traumas, a lot of traumas get lodged in our body because we're just not prepared. We just don't, in our culture, in our society, we don't have a way to move and process that out of our body. In ancient cultures, you would have drumming circles, and you would have all kinds of different rituals to actually move energy from your body because it gets stored in your body. And so these two physicians, I think, are at the forefront of starting to change and shift the consciousness of people, that there is more that is in our body that we are absolutely unaware of. And so then you have a lot of modalities that have come about, like somatic experiencing or vagus nerve reset, or any number of things that try to go in and allow you to release these stored energies and stored emotions in your body. And that's all huge, and that's powerful, because none of us need to be carrying any extra baggage. And so it's really powerful when you realize how much is in your body. And then that, of course, is a burden on your nervous system. And because your nervous system is the one that's actually holding all that to keep you safe, and to keep you functioning in the world. So I think that it starts with this idea, though, too, that, okay, so let's say all this stuff is held in our body, and then we engage in these other practices to sort of release these stored traumas and everything that's stored in our body. Okay, great. But the missing piece, in my opinion, is how do we currently live our lives that continues to be in service of our nervous system dysregulation? That would be the relationship that doesn't serve you, the job that you can't stand, the stress that you're under, the way you always put way more on your plate than you should, your belief structures, how you feel like, oh, my body's always failing me, how you talk to yourself, all sorts of different things, and it's all very different because we're all different people. But it really is true. Like, I'll use, as an example, I'll use my life. In my past life, I was a chef, and I still am a chef, but I had 3 restaurants, and they were really successful, and I loved what I did. I felt like I was living the dream. I wasn't even connected to the stress, to be honest with you. I thought I thrive on stress. No, you don't. Nobody thrives on stress. But I think that I had it so in my mind that all of this life was like the dream, that I couldn't even access how stressed I was and how much it was wearing me down and how much it was actually harming my health. Like, no amount of kale smoothies was going to uh, balance the supreme amount of stress that I was under all the time. I had 75 employees. I mean, I had 3 locations. I had storage units. I had cars. I mean, it was just like nuts. And it's not to say that that can't be done, but for someone with MS, without me recognizing and actually having a way to have a relationship with the life that I had created for myself, I was always dysregulated. And I didn't even know it, you know? To me, it felt normal and natural, like, this is how we go. And you make 20 things for Thanksgiving dinner in one go, you know? You take on way more than you should, and so, I mean, I guess that that's an example of how we do create these structures in our lives that continue to keep us sick and keep us stuck. And so you can have the best diet, but, until you keep, address, like, the ways in which you keep yourself sick, then it doesn't really matter, like, the diet. Like, it does matter, of course, but it's not gonna be the cure all, you know?
I am smiling because I come from the restaurant industry.
Did you get
And
it?
oh, I get it. I get it. And the chef, who I still do some work with and who I is one of the most amazing women I've ever met. I see that same thing in her and in so many other people in the industry that I know as well. So yeah, it's we put ourselves in situations where we are used to the constant stress, the constant go, go, go. We keep putting more on our shoulders. I'm certainly guilty of that in other ways. And we're used to it. So like you said, it feels normal. But if we were looking at this from an outside perspective, looking down on us, we would recognize quite quickly that this isn't sustainable.
Well, yeah, and it's like you from the outside looking in now being away from that, and you can look at these people that you know and you see it, and it doesn't even have to be MS. It could be high blood pressure. It could be diabetes. It could be migraine headaches. It could be insomnia. You know, you can have any number of different ways that your body is telling you that this is no longer serving you. But then we just take the sleep meds, and we take the high blood pressure medication, and we just keep chugging along. And I don't know. And I think for certain people at a certain point in time, it no longer serves you. And it's a ticket to an early death, and you're going to get sicker and sicker.
Yeah, and wherever whatever you're predisposed to genetically is likely where it's going to express, or it's going to
Mhm.
express in relationship issues or, any other number of things, maybe not specifically health, but it will express because it's not sustainable. And I'm curious when you are working with your clients on this, where do you start with them? How do you start helping them recognize where these patterns are expressing? And maybe you could give our listeners an example of a practice or two that can help to start regulate that nervous system.
Yeah, that's a really great question because so this is a difference between like a coach and a guide. So a coach will want to have like a structured sort of path and will want to bring, not all coaches, but generally, broadly speaking, will want to bring these awarenesses to their client. Whereas my work and my approach is I believe that all change that's authentic and lasting comes from within. So the client has to be the one to make the aha moment. I'm not the one to tell them that your job isn't serving you. You're the one that comes to the awareness that your job is not serving you. But we actually don't talk about your job not serving you. We don't talk about that at all. We actually have this container that is all about um, nervous system restoration and regulation, and you learning to have capacity because you would be surprised and shocked at how many people don't have the capacity to hold their own emotions. It's really shocking without thinking something's wrong with them or like the mental stories that we go down into ourselves. So we start really, really gently, so gently, because like nervous system work really unwinds in the presence of love and safety. And it takes time and it's a slow, gentle process. And so once your nervous system feels safe in the presence of my nervous system, and we just gently, gently, gently start working on all these other things about like have building the capacity to hold your own thoughts. And just that in and of itself starts to bring up a lot of awareness. You start to have a lot more awareness around things that do trigger you, that you actually could never have the capacity to hold before, that things that would really stress you out, and things like that. Then you start to have a different level of awareness. And when you make the decision yourself and when you have the aha moment yourself, then you can't unsee what's the truth for you. And then we can then once you see what you want to see, then we're only healing the layer that you are at currently. I'm never ahead of you telling you like, well, if you would only see this, it's like it's not like that at all. It's only I'm only meeting you exactly where you're at. We're healing the layer that you are in that moment because that's what's true for you. And then it's just that it just catalyzes the next layer and the next layer. And then eventually we get to the point where you realize, wow, my job is absolutely not serving me. And it's really, really messing up my life, or my marriage isn't, or my relationship, or the way I parent my children, or I like the way I relate to my family or my parents or whatever the case may be. But we take it moment by moment, depending upon where you are in that time. And then what you're able to see and witness and whatever your truth is in that moment. So I guess that's kind of how we start. I could see I could have all kinds of intuition around all the ways in which you're dysregulated and the way that overcoming that dysregulation will heal you, but that's not for me to say. We start super, super, super small and super slow. And then you're the one who builds upon that in your healing path and just unfolds in its own beautiful way. I don't know
And
if I answered that question really, but
yeah, no, what I was going to say is I think, again, just to clarify even more for the listeners, what does nervous system dysregulation feel like maybe in the body? So that could be feeling like a little tension. Maybe you realize your shoulders are up a little higher, right? You're not taking deep breaths.
no.
Something happens at the office and you react more strongly than is needed for that specific situation, or you're at home and your kid does, spill something and you freak out instead of being able to handle it calmly. It could be any number of things, but it can also be symptoms from MS, symptoms from lupus, things like that showing up in the body where your body is in more of this state of fight or flight or freeze, and you're not functioning from that place of rest, that place of repair, or
Yeah.
your moments in that space are much less than you should be.
Mhm.
People with, and this is something that I deal with, but overactive mind,
Mhm.
and not being able to calm your thoughts, that can
Mhm.
be a scenario as well. And I have a lot of tools that I use for that now, but we are all still learning and we are all still shifting as we grow older. And the other night, I don't have this happen often, but I woke up and I just had this anxiety in my body and I did all my things. I prayed. I went through a meditation to clear my chakras. I pulled out energy cores and, got rid of those. I was doing all the things that I normally do that normally work, and it still was there. And I finally had to, like, I literally just lifted my arms and legs up in the air while I was laying down and just like shook like a dog
Yes.
water. And finally, I was like, okay, now I'm relaxed. Like, there's so many different things, but like, that's another way it can show up. And so, I just want to tell our listeners that, hey, you're human first and foremost. So these things happen. It's okay that you're in these fight or flight states. There are plenty of tools that we can help you learn so you can learn how to move through them and get that energy out of your system so that you can get back to that place of rest and healing.
Yeah, I love what you said though too, because you followed your intuition and you had a whole toolbox of things. And then you trusted your body enough to know at the end exactly like you were like, oh, this is what I need to do, and I needed to just shake and shake. And I think that that's a really important thing as well, is like to try to teach people that they, of course, can also have all of these tools in their toolbox too, but it's whatever intuitively is coming to them that they need in that time, that their intuition will tell them. And yeah, they may have to go through any number of different things before they like find the thing, but it's not this outside in kind of thing, but this inside out, like this from the inside, you're like, oh, this is what I need. And and yeah, I just think that we all do that. That's like the human condition, that we all have this monkey mind and all of that. And I try to teach people to have an energetic distance from that. Like you are not that, you actually can create a distance from your thinking thoughts and who you actually are. And so you're not your thoughts and you're not your emotions. And so we can create some energetic distance between, the mind that always wants to go. And it is a constant. I mean, it is even for me too. I mean, I'm like moving between two countries right now. And so there's a lot of details and there's a lot of stress. And then there's also a lot of like, oh my God, is this the right decision? And, all of that stuff. So yeah, I have it all too. I think it's normal. We're natural human, but I definitely know how to recognize what's mine, what's not mine, how to have the distance and the space, how to actually be okay with myself when I have like moments of despair. Like, it's okay to be despairing about your decision. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not failing. It's just I'm human. And so I have the space to allow myself to feel all the things without attaching a story to it, but actually just holding all of those difficult emotions and just being like, yeah, that's true. And also emotions will pass, and they will pass and then another day will come and you'll start all over again. So I think it's about creating like spaciousness, calmness, safety, um, and love for yourself, compassion, self-compassion, and acceptance for the fact that all of us, this is just part of the human experience.
Definitely when I learned and realized that I was the observer of my thoughts and it wasn't actually my thoughts. That was like a mind blowing revelation.
It is mind blowing. You're like, oh my God, I am not my thoughts. I am the observer of my thoughts. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, now we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to just reiterate again that your healing process, to those that are listening, your healing process is not just one linear path. It's not coming from a bottle of pills or supplements. It's not coming from one single dietary change. Um, it takes so many different modalities and forms, and just being open. I think just being open to whatever comes your way and observing it and saying, is this path for me? Maybe it's not. Being open to either, right? Because I
Yeah.
know too, with especially in the holistic world, so many times I've come across things that I'm like, that is the thing. That's the thing that's going to get me there. That's going to get me
Yeah.
over this hump. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't that one either. And
But
that's
I learned a
okay.
lot.
But I learned a lot.
Learned a
Exactly.
lot. Yeah, and I think you're totally right. I mean, it's a journey, and especially when you have a diagnosis, it's a journey. It's not like a linear, like super highway to better health. And it's also not something that you can cop out on and like bypass by just taking a pill and thinking by then you're good. And I mean, you can try that, and you can try anything, you can try that, but I don't know that it's sustainable. But I think as long as you embrace the fact that it is a journey and it's a journey that you're on, whether you like it or not, it's here. And so do you want to take control of your health and live in the fullness of your birthright? And how much of your life have you given away to this diagnosis? And, in forms of disability or lowered productivity or lessened relationships or less satisfaction in your job or your career or less opportunity to be in community or socializing. Like how much smaller do you continue to make your life in service of this diagnosis, when in fact it could be the biggest liberator? And if you just take a different approach to it, it could be your liberation and not the thing that keeps you in a small box.
I love that. I don't know what else there is to add to that, but is there anything that we haven't talked about today that you want to leave with the
Mhm.
listeners?
I mean, I guess you and I were chatting before we started recording, and I just love helping people so much. And I just really love, like, when people really like step into this belief that they absolutely have it within their power to take back their control over their health. And like, it is so empowering and it is so beautiful. And it's like the most amazing experience in your life to authentically heal from something, and you did it yourself. And that feeling no one can ever take away from you, and it's your only life. And so I just really want to encourage people to be brave enough to believe that it's true for themselves and want it badly enough that they seek it out.
Christine, where can everyone find you?
Best place is my website, christineruch.com. And I'm happy to chat with anybody about any number of health related things. It doesn't even have to be multiple sclerosis. And yeah, you can book a call with me online, or I also have a Substack where I write all about all of the different ways that we heal and aligning ourselves with the frequency of healing. And I have some recipes in there too. So good food. And yeah, you can
Awesome.
find me online.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Or
I'll
you
have
can
all those
email me, of course.
perfect. I'll have all those links in the show notes, and I definitely
Yeah,
encourage everybody to follow you. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
I am too. Thank you so much, Holly. I really liked it. Thanks.
Thank you so much to Christine Ruch for sharing her powerful story and wisdom today. I hope that you're walking away with a deeper understanding of how safety, nourishment, and nervous system healing can change the trajectory of autoimmune diseases. If this episode spoke to you, please remember you don't have to navigate autoimmunity alone. I would love to support you on your journey. You can find my free daily lupus guide and symptom tracker linked in the show notes. It is also just as applicable to other autoimmune diseases. And you can also apply for a free healing breakthrough call if you're ready to go deeper and personalize your next best steps in your healing journey. Until next time, take a deep breath, give yourself grace, and keep building your bridge back to health.